world and solve hard problems. And today we're going to solve 8th problem of programming skills study set, which is sign of the product of an array. Let's get started. So what we have here, given an array of nums, and we have to return 1 if a product of each element is positive, -1 if negative, 0 if x is 0. Probably not so tricky one. We have some examples. For here, if the product of all values here is 144, and we have to return, we are returning 1 as product would give us a positive number. In this case, we have a 0 here, and it would be 0, and we return 0. And in this case, a product of all these elements is -1, and as it's negative, we return -1. Yeah. So before we will dive into the solution, what we have to think, or we have to pay attention to the constraints and ask a question. Constraint tell us, as constraints actually define the level of the problem itself. So here what we have, num length is between 1 and 1000, which means that the elements length of the elements here up to 1000 numbers. So basically n square solution would also pass, but here we don't have any such things in this problem. So simple single pass or when solution here is perfect. And the second one is that each element is from -100 till -100 till the 100, which means values are small. But even so, the product of multiplying each element, then checking if it's negative or positive, it's could blow up the system because it's still kind of a large number. So we have to avoid computing the multiply operations, computing the product of all elements. And what we can do is just check these track design. So, and before we will dive into the solution, what I always do to make sure that this problem will stuck in my head is to think of a real-world case scenario. And here what we can think of imagining a payment reconciliation system. What it means that a single customer payment can go through a chain of events, and so the final outcome would be as so. If it's a normal processed transaction, we will sign it as +1. If we have some reverse direction, so it means we have some refunds, so transaction is going in some not forward but backward direction, we will return -1. And if something cancels, so the transaction is just almost one time it was cancelled, it means we will return 0, so transaction gets nullified. So here's some examples here. For example, here we have -1, -1, which means it's a chargeback after refund. So what it means, first transaction was a refund, then next transaction was charged back. So first customer did a refund, then he still did a next transaction, which means that we have -1, -1, and the product will be +1 as the direction is positive again. First we change the direction as from backward to forward. So refund happened, then it got reversed, so money is back to received. The next example is just when it's -1, which means that the final direction is negative, as payment was reversed once and money goes out. And yeah, this is basically it. And when 0, it means that it cancels everything, so the transaction, so it doesn't matter what else happened after the nullified transaction, which means the system just treated the whole system as never existed. This is how we can think of this problem. So basically, for this problem, we have two possible solutions that we can think of, which is sign of the product and count negatives. Let's just review both and just use one of them. So sign of the product, what basically, as I already mentioned, that for this problem, it's easy one, so it means that the solution was also are not tricky. As here, as I already mentioned before, as if we will multiply and do a product, then decide which sign, it would overload the system. So what we need, we just have to check the sign itself. So what matters is the sign, and we'll just go through each element of the array, and we'll check if we see the 0, we will immediately return 0, as the product would itself be 0, and if we will just, every time we multiply by a negative number, it means the sign flips. So we will just define some sign, so it would be positive, and then we'll go for every element, if we see the negative, we will flip the sign, but if it's positive, sign will stay the same. So in here, some examples, and basically this is it. And why this works, just zeros kill the product, negatives flip the sign, and positives do nothing to the sign. And complexity of this solution would be, for the time it would take on, so we just scan array once, and for the space it would be constant, as we just only have a sign variable, and variables are always constant. So this is the first solution. The second one is probably the same, so the complexity would be exactly the same, as we will go through each element of the array. It would take on time, and the space would be also constant, as we will just have a variable of counting negatives. And it's basically the same, but what we do, we count the number of negative elements in the array, and if we have even a negative of negatives, so it means we return 1. But if we have, for example, in this case, we have we've seen negatives 3 times, we just return -1, so it's odd. And yeah, basically you might ask, is it better than the sign flip method? Probably not. It's the same performance, but you can think of as sign flip is toggle a switch, and count negatives, it's as we just count and check it's odd or even. So this is it. This is the solution for this problem, and what let's go to the implementation itself. So probably here I already prepared the code, and I check it, and it was accepted, and probably this is it. We just define the sign as 1, and we go through each element, and then if we see 0, we return 0. If num is less than 0, it means we just flip the sign to the -1, and then we return the sign itself. Basically this is it. Nothing hard for this problem. And here you can see also the solution for counting negatives problem. Here this is it. And so basically we're done with 8th problem of programming skills study set, and see you tomorrow for the other problems.